There is a specific kind of poison that infects women who have everything. It doesn't look like poison at first. It looks like boredom. It looks like a craving for just a little bit more. You look at your perfect manicured life, and instead of feeling gratitude, you feel a suffocating urge to smash a window just to feel the cold air rush in. I didn't just smash a window. I took a wrecking ball to a masterpiece, and I smiled while I did it. My name is Chloe. For 6 years, I was the envy of every woman in my social circle. I was married to Liam, a highly sought-after orthopedic surgeon. Liam was the kind of man who opened car doors, remembered my mother's birthday, and worked 80-hour weeks just to give me the world on a silver platter. I was an interior designer, which basically meant I spent his money curating an aesthetic life that looked flawless on Instagram. But behind the filters, I was restless. Liam was exhausted all the time. His hands, which spent all day rebuilding shattered bones, were always too tired to touch me the way I wanted. I felt like a prized porcelain doll placed high on a shelf, admired, protected, but completely untouched. I mistook his devotion for neglect, and I used that delusion to justify everything that came next. The catalyst for my ruin was our forever home. Liam had purchased a stunning 3-acre lot in an exclusive gated community, and we were building a custom 8,000-square-foot modern estate. Because Liam was always at the hospital, the daily site visits and project management fell to me. That was where I met Vance. Vance was the lead custom woodworker and architectural framer for the project. He was 35, covered in a fine layer of sawdust, with calloused hands and a gaze that stripped me naked the second I stepped onto the property. He didn't look at me with the polite, deferential respect of a contractor speaking to the wealthy homeowner. He looked at me like I was prey. Our first interaction set the tone. I was complaining about the stain on the floating oak staircase, pointing out a microscopic imperfection. Vance didn't apologize. He stepped into my personal space, so close I could smell the cedar and sweat on his skin, and whispered, "You're used to everything being perfect, aren't you, Chloe? It must be exhausting." I shivered. It was the most inappropriate thing anyone had ever said to me, and it sent a shockwave of electricity straight to my core. The affair escalated with terrifying speed. It started in the unfinished rooms of my own dream house. Amidst the exposed drywall, the concrete dust, and the smell of fresh paint, we would find blind spots where the construction crew couldn't see us. The contrast was intoxicating. Here I was, the pristine, wealthy doctor's wife in my designer clothes, letting a rough, unpolished contractor press me against the unfinished framing of my own master bedroom. I felt so incredibly alive. I felt like a criminal mastermind. As the house neared completion, the construction crew thinned out, leaving just Vance to do the fine detailing. The house was fully integrated with a state-of-the-art smart home system. It controlled the security cameras, the ambient lighting, the temperature, and the multi-room audio. I thought I was a genius. I programmed a custom voice command into the system. Whenever Vance would come over for our afternoon inspections, I would walk through the front door and say, "System, activate focus mode." Instantly, the smart blinds would lower. The interior security cameras would power down. The smart locks would engage, and a playlist of classical music would drift through the speakers to drown out any noise. For 2 hours, 3 times a week, that multi-million-dollar house became my private, impenetrable fortress of infidelity. Before Liam would come home, I would simply say, "System, disable focus mode," and the house would return to normal. No cameras, no evidence, no trace. I was so arrogant. I genuinely believed I was smarter than the man who spent his days reconstructing human spines. I thought Liam was too trusting, too absorbed in his patience to ever notice the subtle changes in his wife. Move-in day was scheduled for a Friday. The house was flawless. The furniture was placed, the art was hung, and the champagne was chilled. We were hosting a massive housewarming party that evening for 50 of our closest friends, family members, and Liam's colleagues from the hospital. At 4 p.m., I was standing in the massive chef's kitchen wearing a stunning silk cocktail dress, admiring my reflection in the marble backsplash. I felt like a queen observing her kingdom. Liam walked through the garage door. He was wearing his tailored charcoal suit, but his tie was loosened. He didn't have that warm, exhausted smile he usually wore. His face was entirely devoid of expression. It looked like it was carved from stone. "Liam, honey, you're home early," I chirped, walking over to kiss him. He didn't lean in. He just stared at me. He placed his leather briefcase on the quartz island, unlatched it, and pulled out a single, thick manila envelope. "The caterers will be here in an hour," I said, a sudden cold knot forming in my stomach. "Is everything okay?" "Did you know," Liam began, his voice eerily quiet, "that when you install a $50,000 enterprise-grade smart home network, it doesn't just respond to voice commands? It logs them." The air in the kitchen suddenly felt too thin to breathe. I froze, my hand hovering over a tray of crystal glasses. "I was setting up the external server last night at the hospital," Liam continued, walking slowly around the island toward me. "I wanted to make sure the network was secure before we moved in. So I checked the system's diagnostic logs. I noticed a very strange anomaly. A custom routine called focus mode. Executed exactly 74 times over the last 4 months. Always between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. "Liam, I can explain. It was just—" "Do not interrupt me," he snapped. The sharpness of his voice made me flinch. He had never spoken to me like that. Ever. "I looked at the parameters of this focus mode," he said, his voice dropping back to that terrifying clinical calm. "Blinds drawn, doors locked, security cameras locally disabled. A very clever setup, Chloe. Truly, you thought you were blinding the house?" He opened the manila envelope. "But you aren't an IT engineer, are you? You didn't realize that while the cameras stopped recording to the local hard drive, the motion sensors in the ceiling never power down. They run on a separate hardwired mesh network for the HVAC efficiency." He pulled out a stack of papers. They were floor plans of our house, but they were covered in heat map data, red and orange blobs moving across the blueprints. "The system tracks thermal mass to adjust the air conditioning," Liam explained, holding up a page showing the master bedroom. "I have 74 thermal logs of 2 overlapping heat signatures in our bed. 2 bodies, Chloe, thrashing around in the house I paid for. The house I built for you." My legs gave out. I sank to the floor, the cold marble biting into my bare knees. "Liam, please, oh my God, please," I sobbed, the perfect illusion of my life shattering into a million jagged pieces. "I also checked the digital entry logs for the smart lock," he said, ignoring my tears entirely. "Only 2 unique PIN codes were entered on those days. Yours, and the temporary code I gave to Vance, the lead contractor." Hearing his name out loud in that pristine kitchen was like a physical blow. I covered my face with my hands, screaming, begging, spitting out every pathetic excuse a cornered animal could muster. I told him I was lonely. I told him it was a mistake. I told him I loved him. Liam looked down at me, and the disgust in his eyes was absolute. "You didn't just cheat on me, Chloe. You desecrated this house. You brought him into our bed before I even had the chance to sleep in it. You are hollow. You are completely, utterly hollow." "I'll do anything," I gasped, crawling toward his polished shoes. "We can go to therapy. We can sell the house. I'll never speak to him again." "You're right about one thing," Liam said, stepping back so I couldn't touch him. "You will never speak to him again. I called Vance's boss this morning. I sent him the logs. Vance was fired at noon. His wife is also a nurse at my hospital. She found out at 1 p.m. I choked on my own breath. He had systematically destroyed it all before he even walked through the door. "As for the house," Liam said, checking his watch, "the guests are arriving in 45 minutes. My lawyer will be one of them. He has the divorce papers drafted." You're divorcing me? Now, we have 50 people coming," I shrieked, panic clawing at my throat. "Yes, we do," Liam said calmly. "Which is why you have exactly 10 minutes to go upstairs, pack whatever you can fit into your car, and leave through the service exit before they get here. Because if you are still standing in this house when my parents and my colleagues arrive, I will project these thermal logs onto the living room television. and I will tell everyone exactly why we are separating. You can't do this to me. I have nowhere to go. My name is on the mortgage. Your name is on a prenup, he corrected coldly. A prenup that explicitly outlines an infidelity clause which you so arrogantly triggered. You get nothing, Chloe. Now pack. I have never moved faster in my life. The sheer terror of being publicly humiliated in front of our entire social circle overrode my grief. I ran upstairs, shoved designer clothes into garbage bags, grabbed my jewelry, and fled out the back door like a thief. As I pulled my car out of the service driveway, I saw the first caterer's van pulling in. I drove to a motel. I tried to call Vance. The number was disconnected. I tried to message him on Instagram. He had blocked me. He had lost his job and his wife in the same afternoon, and he wanted nothing to do with the woman who had caused it. It has been a year and a half. The divorce was swift, ruthless, and devastating. Because of the irrefutable proof and the ironclad prenup, I walked away with almost nothing. Liam kept the house. I heard through the grapevine that he didn't even sell it. He just replaced the bed, redecorated the master suite, and moved on. He is currently dating a pediatrician. Everyone in our old social circle completely ostracized me. In their eyes, I was radioactive. I now live in a cramped, dark, one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood I used to drive through without looking out the window. My aesthetic is gone. My status is gone. My husband is gone. I work as a floor saleswoman at a mid-tier furniture store. Every day, I watch couples come in, holding hands, picking out dining tables and sectionals for their new lives together. They look so happy. They look so secure. And every night, I go back to my tiny, quiet apartment. I don't have a smart home system anymore. I just have a cheap lock on a thin door and the crushing, suffocating silence of my own consequences. I thought I was a genius who could play the system. I thought I could have the perfect life and the dirty secret. But I learned the hardest lesson a woman can learn. When you build a house out of lies, you are the only one who ends up crushed when the roof caves in.